What's up Louis, it's guys here, hope you are doing great. In this video I'm going to share the 5 mistakes I've made that has cost me millions of rands investing in sectional title properties. My hope for you is that you avoid making these same mistakes and instead start generating income as soon as possible. With number 5 being my favorite tip, it has saved me thousands of rands. So for those of you that don't know what a sectional title property is, it is simply a common property that is owned by multiple owners and controlled by a body corporate with the help of trustees. Some of the most common problems you will face is bad managing agents, arrogant and uneducated trustees, really expensive levies, and a lack of maintenance in the complex. These are some of the basic issues that so many people face, and in this video I want to help you to avoid these issues. I'm going to share the 5 biggest mistakes that I've made as a sectional title owner. The first mistake so many people make is buying an average deal. Overall, a sectional title property is not the best investment out there. Most of the time people will buy these properties and they end up costing them a lot of money, and the main reason for that is the lack of education. People are not aware of all the expenses involved with property ownership, and never mind the expenses involved with sectional title specifically. People end up buying properties that generates an income of, let's say, 6,000 rand, but the expenses for that property ends up being 10,000 rand. That means the shortfall, or the money that you need to pay from your own pocket, ends up being a massive 4,000 rand. What I like to do instead is to focus on properties that can pay me 4,000 rand instead of taking 4,000 rand from my own money. The difference between these two properties will make or break your property portfolio, so make sure you understand how to run the numbers and know the difference. That brings us to the second mistake, and this is another big one. People make the mistake of listening to sales agents or real estate agents without doing their homework. They never take the time to educate themselves and to make sure that they understand the financials of the complex, understand running the numbers on that specific deal. They simply listen to what the sales agent has to say and blindly believe them and end up buying a really bad deal. Just remember, salespeople just want to make sales because it's part of their job. They very rarely talk about the financial issues so many complexes face, and I'm not sure if they leave this out on purpose or if they don't know it themselves. You need to make sure you do the necessary research. Make sure you focus on the financials of a complex. Make sure you focus on understanding the data and the numbers of your specific deal so that you know whether it will be profitable or not. Just remember to take everything an agent says with a pinch of salt, because people always tend to have a hidden agenda. Before we jump into the third mistake, which is another big one, you have to check out my property course and coaching program, which is on a massive 50% sale until Monday or the 30th of September. The course will go back to its original price on the 1st of October, so make sure you secure your spot and save a massive 50%. With that out of the way, that brings us to the third mistake. People don't understand the financial statements of a complex. To make this as practical and helpful as possible, I wanted to show you guys financial statements of a property that I actually own. Although I am not an accountant and you might not be either, this is just some of the basic things that you need to understand, or the skills that you need to learn to become a successful property investor. What I've done is to highlight some of the most important parts when it comes to these financial statements, and I know the information can be overwhelming, and I'm here to make it easier for you guys to understand. If I scroll down, the first part that we want to focus on is the statement of comprehensive income. Like we can see, the revenue of this complex is actually increasing. That's why I highlighted it in green. Compared to 2023 and 2024, we can see that it is actually going up, which is a pretty good sign. At the bottom, it shows the net surplus or deficit before taxation. That means you take your revenue and you deduct all of your expenditures, which gives you a positive or a negative amount. And in this case, we can see it's actually a negative amount compared to the previous year where it was actually positive. This isn't necessarily the best sign. Here we can see that it gives us a negative amount of 51,644 Rand. We scroll down to the financial position, which is the assets and liabilities. Here we can also see that the cash and cash equivalents on this complex has actually been increasing compared to the previous year, but the total assets is actually going down. This is something that we have to monitor going forward. And another thing we can look at is the accumulated funds, which compared to 2023 is also going down, although its reserve fund is actually going up, which is a positive sign. Next, we'll scroll down a bit and have a look at the cash flow statement. Here we can see the cash flow the company or the complex has actually generated, and this is something positive that I like to look at. Compared to 2023 and 2024, we can see that the cash we received has increased from 654,000 to 671,000 Rand. But at the end of the day, the cash and cash equivalents of the beginning of the year is actually up from 453 to 518,000 Rand. Then we can scroll down to the part where it shows us all of the expenses. This is where you can actually go through all of the details or all of the expenses to make sure there's nothing fishy going on over here. There's obviously certain costs the complex needs to pay for on a monthly and a yearly basis, and it is all displayed over here. The thing I want to show you is at the bottom, which shows that this complex is currently running at a deficit for the 2024 financial year. This is something that we need to focus on because it means the income it generates, it's not enough to cover all of its expenses. Although this is not great, we can still scroll down and look a bit further. Here we can see that they do still have enough money based on their reserve fund. So the reserve fund has actually gone up from 106,000 to 113,000, which is generally a good sign, but you need to make sure we monitor this so that they don't run out of money. Then we can also scroll down, and this is probably the most important part. It shows us how much levies is currently outstanding. Here we can see the total outstanding levies is around 29,000 Rand, which is really not too bad. We can also see that there's a prepaid amount of around 12,000 Rand, which is generally a good sign. The reason I'm showing you this is because you need to go ahead and make sure you look at the outstanding levies. If this is a amount close to 100,000 Rand, for example, that is a red flag. Make sure you can find out whether there is massive amounts of levies outstanding and whether the property can still generate cash flow, whether it has a healthy reserve fund, and whether it's actually running at a surplus or a deficit. Focusing on these four things alone will help you to get a good understanding of the financial health of these complexes. Then we get to mistake number 5, which is living in these sectional properties yourself. It simply means that you end up being part of the problem when you end up not making your payments. Most people, like I mentioned, budgeted for a amount of 6 or 7,000 Rand, and it ends up costing them 10,000 Rand, meaning 3 or 4,000 Rand needs to come from their own money, and they only had the budget to pay 6 or 7,000 Rand. These people end up missing their payments, they start getting behind on their rates and taxes, and then they start missing payments on levies, which adds to the overall problems that majority of these complexes face. The reason I would avoid living in these properties yourself is because it's really financially draining if you need to live in these properties and make the shortfall payments yourself. I would instead buy the properties that can generate cash flow, but let's say you bought a property that is cash flow negative, the tenant will effectively pay the 6 or 7,000 Rand, and you only need to add the additional 3 or 4,000 Rand from your own pocket, which is much better than 10,000 Rand that you need to pay yourself. At the end of the day, these mistakes are such common mistakes that so many people make, but they completely avoid focusing on the details. By avoiding these mistakes, you will save a lot of money and you will build your property portfolio much larger than you would have if you made these mistakes.